I am genuinely curious about what the reaction of everybody is going to be to the news yesterday that I thought that was glossed over a little bit. Rudy Gobert became a Hall of Famer yesterday. You win 4 of those things, you get in the Hall of Fame.
No question. Yep.
You say no question, and I'm like, Rudy Gobert, Hall of Famer. I mean, I know that
it's a different Hall of Fame.
I know it's a
Make
different
an exemption just this one time because nobody likes him. Has so many things working against him. He started COVID. He's French.
We made the argument on the show yesterday that the Timberwolves are better off without him.
He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame, and I don't care how diminished the Basketball Hall of Fame is. I still am jarred.
What's worse, betting on your own sport or ruining everybody's lives for 2.5 years?
Or missing a game because you had a kid.
It's up there.
Yep.
He's no Brandon Carlo.
And as an added bonus, rare is the Hall of Famer that very often during games as the sport evolves just gets taken off of the court for long stretches of time. That usually doesn't happen to the Hall of Famers at the height of their powers. But as Stugotz said while moaning over headsets that were on the floor and with a bad back that made it very difficult to get up, what a night on the ice.
It was magical, Dano.
This sport. 2 OTs, 2 games. They gave 3 OTs, actually.
Yes.
Oh,
2 in the Rangers game.
more OTs and games.
How many people out there were confused when a tied overtime Rangers game all of a sudden with 30 seconds left as everyone is very excited, the broadcast goes to another pregame show?
Oops.
How many of you...
Stars game. It was the Stars game.
It went to the Stars game. There was about maybe a minute or so left in regulation in the Rangers game, and they left the Rangers game to go to the Stars game, and I thought the Ranger game went to ESPNU, so I went to ESPNU, and the Stars game was there as well.
Which would have been a curious decision with 30 seconds left on the running clock.
Yes.
I'm gonna power through this one. No, fine. So 30 seconds left on a running clock. Me and about 15 of my closest hosers, we go to a local watering hole, and we are just maniacs about this sport. And
Billy, why are you making that face?
Your closest what?
Hosers.
Is that a hockey thing?
It's a Canadian phrase.
Yeah, it's not very flattering, but whatever. We're puckheads. So we go to our favorite hockey bar. It's about 15 of us, and I'm telling you, these fellas are on a rampage.
I need to stop everything that's happening here because whatever you think Mike Ryan is with soccer insanity, with basketball insanity, and with University of Miami insanity, hockey Mike Ryan is 15 people in a bar yelling at a television when the game is tied with 30 seconds left and the television is going to another broadcast.
Hosers, just a hostile takeover of a bar. People using hockey gloves as koozies. It was, it was a movie. But, and we just like joy. We want people to find their joy. We want points. We want goals. We like the overs. We like the player props. Maybe a little side action on the Carolina Hurricanes. That's a tough L. But generally, we just want a good game. And we were being treated to an amazing game, courtesy of the New York Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes. And with 30 seconds left on a running clock and the game in the balance, they decided to go to the pregame coverage. A big mess up over by ESPN production. However, we also had the over in Dallas, so we weren't necessarily super mad about it. We were just confused.
Mike, I will tell you this. The Rangers had no business winning that game last night. Carolina dominated play. They did, but that's what hockey's all about.
Yep.
You just need one.
And that series ain't over. Series ain't over. One bit.
I want to go back to the hosers for a second. It's a Canadian phrase. Was the Smothers Brothers? I think are the ones who introduced me to it as a Canadian insult.
Are they on
I
TikTok?
think. I don't know whether they invented it or
Smothers
not.
Brothers.
That's funny.
Wikipedia says Rick Moranis is the one on SCTV who popularized it. But it means and I will get this specific for you, a foolish or uncultivated person.
Yeah. No, that checks.
I mean, that's hockey fans.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
That's hockey fans in a bar. Wait a minute. I shouldn't say it's all hockey fans. It's hockey fans who drink beer from a koozie 15 deep in a bar. That's hoser.
The koozie was a hockey glove. Yeah. It's an important detail. Yeah. You just hand the hockey glove around. Yeah. Take a swig. Oh, man, what a night. What a night. And then we had another game after that Rangers-Carolina game. And I'm very, very glad to see the nation is actually supporting this. This sport is truly growing, and it shows the power of ESPN. This sport barely survived the 2 lockouts and being stuck on Versus and not getting mainstream attention. For it to finally get mainstream attention, Pat McAfee's been such a great ally for the sport. They're getting close to NBA playoff numbers.
The ratings are very good. And, Juju, in basketball, one of the things basketball suffers from that hockey doesn't because of where offense has gone is the games last night aren't interesting. You don't have to watch these 20 and 30-point games. And I'm really genuinely curious because I don't remember the Warriors doing what the Celtics are doing, where they just stack throughout the game. And I know they're playing against Cleveland and Miami in their lower seeds, but they've been doing it all season where they just go, they're up 9 now, they're up 18, they're up 27, they're up 35, and the game's never going to get close. They're going to just keep grinding your face into the ground, and it makes the games uninteresting. They're not the hockey games. You can tune out of both of those games last night, and you didn't miss anything. What the Sixers and the Knicks gave us and what the Knicks and the Pacers gave us, that's a rarity. Like, even the Minnesota-Denver games aren't close. Like, we're surprised by the results, but we're looking at it, and it's not dramatic games.
The Celtics are overwhelming. They've had 20-point leads in half of their games this year. Like, that's crazy. Think about that.
We've been sounding the klaxon for what's going on with this sport. I genuinely think, not unlike baseball, analytics has kind of gamed the system and cracked the game in ways that aren't necessarily pleasing to viewers. And look, we got a deep Knicks playoff run here, and generally the NBA playoffs are down. Knicks games are doing well, but they're buoyed by this Knicks run, and the arrow's not pointing up. It's not flat. It's pointing down. And sports everywhere are up.
Well, but you say pointing down, and these TV rights, Stugotz, and we'll talk about this with David Sampson later. There was a miscalculation by the folks at TNT not understanding what's happening in the competitive streaming space. And so when I think it was Zaslav, the CEO of CNN, of all of it actually.
Of Max.
Of the whole thing. He ends up saying that they're not interested in renew, or they're not sure they're going to renew basketball. And as soon as that happens, Amazon's going to get games. Like, there is simply no way that Amazon will not get games.
Well, Amazon, their offer kind of leaked out yesterday. They're looking at $1.8 billion per season over 11 years. I mean, that's crazy.
But it's interesting what Mike Ryan is saying here, though, because I, too, was under the impression that for a lot of different reasons, I could have said but pre-streaming, I could have made the argument, basketball's going to a dangerous place. But because all that matters here isn't actually ratings. It's not. It's not even how many people you have in your arenas. It's just, can you get the TV money? The TV money is the rocket fuel for the entirety of the business, and nothing else matters. And the thing that I simply had not allowed for, Stugotz, and I don't think a lot of people saw this coming, because it is an evolution that I would say that's over the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know that we've had a lot of visionaries. Basketball's going to get bailed out. The business of basketball is going to get bailed out because they have legitimate problems, but you don't have legitimate problems if you've got a sugar daddy that's giving you billions and billions of dollars, and now there's a bidding war for these rights. Everybody seems to want them, even though it ain't hockey, man. The basketball playoffs, what it is so far, you can be interested in the games. You can have passion about the games, but the way the games are going aren't luring you in. And when you're in the close ones and all you're doing is yelling about the referees and the 2-minute report and the refs are deciding the end of the game instead of the players, like you have an entertainment problem.
Yes, 100%. But while they're going through this entertainment problem, like you said, the timing couldn't be better, because you have streaming services paying a premium for the association with the NBA. They're not necessarily paying for what the product is now, the ratings they're driving now. They want to be in the game. They want to be up. There it is. Yeah. They want to be legitimized by having this partnership. You automatically, my understanding is that Turner can match the deal, but these are getting to crazy prices, and you genuinely
I'm not certain Turner would want to match that deal.
Yeah, because it's getting to an insane
ridiculous,
place. But if you're Amazon. You already have the NFL. You want to legitimize yourself as a destination that sports fans have to go to. If you want to follow sports, you need Amazon Prime. You can just microwave a sports juggernaut by not just acquiring the NBA, but what happens to Turner Studio shows that the league loves? What happens to all of that if there is no sport to cover? Well, if I'm Amazon, I'd say everybody in Atlanta, you stay right there. We go from Turner to Amazon. We're immediately a legitimate entity. We have shoulder programming already there. I mean, the studio coverage is almost more popular than the sports sometimes.
In other streaming news, Boomer Esiason said on WFAN this morning that he would not be surprised, and we should not be surprised, if the NFL sells its Christmas games to Netflix.
I think, correct me if I'm incorrect on this.
That's Boomer, Dan.
It's a big story, Dan.
The
WFAT. I mean.
The WNBA tip-off is going to be on Disney Plus, correct? So
That's right.
So if you want to see Caitlyn Clark's first game, you're not going to be able to see that on regular television. You're going to have to subscribe to that. As on the day, Stugotz, that we find out that the women are now getting chartered flights, that they don't have to do this primitive.
Well, that's nice.
It is nice, but now that you see the economy,
We'll do MLS next.
the economy of this is changing.
Yes.
But tonight, if you want to watch Caitlyn Clark, you're either going to get highlights for free or you're going to have to pay for Disney Plus. And Stugotz, I will tell you that Disney had a very good quarterly earnings, overachieved in every single way because of how aggressively Disney is going into streaming as something that can help save the business.
Caitlyn Clark's game will also be on ESPN2. So it's Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and ESPN2.
So
it'll be in all of those places.
Okay, so it's not exclusive to Disney
No,
Plus.
Correct.
No.
Okay.
But live sports on Disney Plus is a change.
It is a change, but I don't know why anybody would go there if you don't make them go there by denying them the access on free television.
But I forgive me for not knowing this, but it's a preseason game, right?
No, this will be on May 14th when
okay.
the season kicks off for her.
But, Dan, I think some people have bailed on cable television, meaning they don't have ESPN2 anymore, so they'll get it on Disney+.
They found a way to get our money. This is ridiculous.
They always do.
I'm a sports fan. I can't not have one of the streaming services now because they're all going to have live sports. I'm going to have to still have cable so I can watch the games that are just exclusive behind that paywall that are integrated inside the app. So not only am I paying for cable, I can't cut the cord, and now I'm just going to every single streaming service. It's insane.
And you also have to watch FBI.
Can you explain to me, Jeremy, how it is that this is working with Disney Plus? Have they ever had a live sporting event on Disney Plus?
This will be the first non-animated live sporting event on Disney Plus.
Remember the Toy Story game?
Yeah, don't forget the Toy Story game.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
Took a little bit, but they found their way.
They didn't cut to the stars.
But fascinating to launch
Slinky
with
the dog,
this.
remember?
We are about to go deep inside of the intimacies of Stan Van Gundy and a rumpled bed behind him. That is a freshly slept-in bed behind him. We are getting into his life deeply in order to get the freshest of basketball analysis. We'll get to it in a second, but first, Mike Ryan has a very important journalistic correction because we pride ourselves on accuracy around here, even though Stugotz said yesterday that horse racing is dead after they got their best rating since 1989.
Yeah, it's dead.
Dan, I don't get it wrong often, but when I do, I need to be urgent and decisive with my correction. And guys, I had it wrong. She was there.
Oh.
Yeah, this tweet comes from Sean Joseph. Natalie Gavreau at SexyNatG. And again, in the interest of journalism, that handle is at SexyNatG, was back for game one for the second round. In fact, I saw a video of her happily singing along with System of a Down's Chop Suey.
So it seems like next game she needs to not be there.
Let's
Let's
not get too crazy.
Why'd you miss it? Let's get to Stan Van Gundy.
Let's not get
shall
too
we?
crazy.
I need to get to Stan Van Gundy.
They lost.
Pete DeBoer is elite. I mean, tunnel vision.
We need to bring in Stan Van Gundy and get the freshest of basketball analysis. Even
At
though
Sexy Natchi was that
the
handle.
games is that Stan's
One or two
is that
T's.
Stan's Twitter handle at Sexy SVG.
That's it. That sounds about right. Yes.
Yes. It is nice to see you, Stan. It is always nice to see you. You have told us that you would be shocked if anyone other than the Celtics won the championship. I believe that I have not seen a lot of teams in my lifetime that do it this way, Stan, where they just, over the course of the game, grind the lead from 8 to 12 to 15 to 19 to 25 to 33 with no comebacks, like where they just bury you in we're more talented than you are.
Well, that's exactly what it is in the East, and I think we'll just see more and more of that now. Since I have said that about them being the overwhelming favorites, I still think they're the favorites, but we can't ignore what Minnesota and Oklahoma City are doing. I mean, 5 dominant games by each of them, playing both ends of the floor. So the NBA Finals could set up being great.
What do you make of the way the league has been overtaken by the new blood, Stan? Because this is a different time. We are not used to young teams going deep into the playoffs. We are not used to the idea that a Minnesota or an OKC can do something like this without suffering a great deal. There isn't, in the history of basketball, those teams have to do some losing before they get to the finals.
Yeah, they're just really good. And I think in the case of both of those teams, you know, they've also got great poise. Look, Oklahoma City's the youngest team in this and have been all year. And I've said to people all year, like, when you watch them, forget about their birth certificates. When you watch them, what is it that says young to you? Is it that, you know, well, they get a little wild at times? Nope, you don't see that. Is it that they don't commit at the defensive end? Nope, you don't see that. Do they lose their composure when like calls go against them and things? Nope, that doesn't happen. They're probably the most poised team in the league. So I've sort of laughed all year at the people who just think, well, this team's too young. Nothing about them other than their birth certificates says that they're young. They don't play like a young team. And Minnesota either, though Minnesota's not quite as young. I mean, they've got Conley and Gobert, Towns. Those guys have all been around. They're just young on the scene as a team, but they're not a young team. Yeah, those teams have been tremendous. And what we're seeing is a lot of star power being laid to waste by these teams that are on the rise.
Well, then does most of the credit go to Coach Daigneault? Because, I mean, the composure, the length, the scoring, this is exactly what a pro wants. I mean, what a pro needs.
There you go. Very good there, Mike. You need to sing that, though. You need to sing it.
What a pro
Not just say
I don't
it.
get the reference. I don't get the reference. I don't.
You want to sing it for us, Stan? Can you sing
Do
it?
you
No,
hear
I
the
do not
commercial?
want to sing it for you.
Do you hear the commercial when you're on the broadcast? Are you aware of how often they're playing this?
Well, I know it's on there a lot, yes.
Yeah, but it's not in your headsets like when
No,
you're on a game.
No.
I have grown to really dislike Shane Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren.
Why?
Because of the commercial?
Yes,
Really?
yeah, no, I don't. How could anyone root for these teams? I know you just said why you would root for them, but this is a national nightmare. It's an international nightmare. And make it make sense, this commercial's playing twice as much during hockey games.
Well, yes, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we do cross-promote. Both of the networks cross-promote because we both have hockey and basketball. So, yeah, that's how it
They have to make another commercial where they poke fun at themselves. Because there's a prevailing theory that because it's the market of Oklahoma City, that's the only way that you can like talk people into doing this rather embarrassing, overexposed commercial. The next AT&T commercial that they do needs to be them singing this and people running away from them, or just poke fun at themselves for doing this to us, because it is quite honestly the worst thing going on television, and I include Newsmax.
Oh, no, I don't know about that now. I don't know about that.
Are you okay with the idea that Rudy Gobert is a Hall of Famer?
You know, I would think that by the standards of who we've already put in, I don't think there's any question he's a Hall of Famer. I have said for years, and not aimed at any one player specifically, that I don't think our standards are high enough. I think the Hall of Fame should be for the absolute best of the best. I had someone tell me a few years back, gave me a criteria that made a lot of sense to me. If you couldn't be the best player on a 50-win team, you don't belong in the Hall of Fame. And that makes a lot of sense to me. So you might be the second or third best player on a team, but if you were our best player, would we still be really good? That should be a standard for Hall of Famers. There shouldn't be a role player Hall of Fame or just a defensive players Hall of Fame. Rudy's a great defender. If Rudy Gobert were your best player, you're not winning 50 games.
I do like the idea of a role player Hall of Fame, though. And we'll get back to that, Stan. But Rudy Gobert, if you're coaching the Timberwolves and he comes to you and he says, hey, I need to be there. My wife is having a child. I need to miss game 2 of the Western Conference semifinals. What is your response to that?
Yeah, that's his decision. I don't have a problem with that. That's his decision. I mean, look, there's very few things, if any, that are more important in your life than the birth of a child. And so, you know, I don't have any problem with that whatsoever.
Stan, can you give me a top 5 role player Hall of Fame? I'd like to do that right now. First ballot role player Hall of Famers right now.
Oh, wow.
I'd like to do it with you.
You know what?
Big Shot Bob?
Well, I probably couldn't. I mean, off the top of my head, though, there's a lot of great role players.
But Bob Orry, he just picked one. Like,
yes.
You have to. That's got to be
his role was to hit big shots.
Yeah, and he won many championships doing that. How many did he win?
Yeah,
6?
no, that's a good one. I mean, I think to me, you would look at this whole group of defenders and rebounders, right? You'd look at Rodman and Ben Wallace and
wow.
But they're in the actual
Gobert.
Hall of Fame. They're in the actual.
Well, they have no business being in the Hall of Fame, is what Stan is saying.
If those people are,
but I'm saying I didn't say that, Stugotz, as usual.
you did say that. You
kinda
did
said
say
it.
that.
You kinda said it, Stan.
Everyone heard that, right? Everyone. Stan said no. Gobert
listen,
and
I
Ben
did
Wallace
not
and
say
Rodman
that.
have no business being in the Hall of Fame. That's what you said.
Listen, the Hall of Fame
Scott Brooks is an idiot.
Standards, whatever, but you know, I just think we don't necessarily confine it to the absolute best of the best. I mean, we've got some guys in there that were never first team All NBA. You know, like you should be a multiple All NBA guy. Like you have to have been a top 10 player in your era, I would think at some time. I don't know. I just look at it differently. And then the bigger problem we have in the NBA is we don't have an NBA Hall of Fame. You know, we're combined with international leagues and women's basketball and college basketball. And so it's a little bit convoluted. And I love the Hall of Fame. I mean, I love going through there. I haven't been in a few years. I think the last time was maybe 7 years ago, but it's a great place and it celebrates the game. But as far as the criteria getting in, it gets pretty tough.
Lawrence Funderburk.
Excellent.
I don't think Lawrence Funderburk would be in the role player Hall of Fame.
Just wanted to say Lawrence Funderburk.
And I, you know, in the name Hall of Fame,
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's
the
a
name Hall
different
of Fame.
game. Wait a
Wow.
minute. That's a total. Let's
Wow.
play that game. That's a God Sham God. Is God Sham God in the name?
Oh, yes.
In the
Oh,
name.
God
Hall of Fame.
Shamgod's in the playoffs right now too. He's an assistant coach with the Dallas Mavericks.
Who else is in the name Hall of Fame? Because this
Well,
is.
see, I'm not. This
That's
is way
great.
out of my area of expertise, but.
You brought it up.
It's one of those things that you
Well,
know
I
when
brought
you
it
see
up when Mike brought up Lawrence Funderburk, but
How about world? How
not
about
like I'm sitting here with a list of names.
World Be Free?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
MVP of the all-name team right there.
Detlef Schrempf.
World be,
Schrempf.
well, what was it? World Be Free, and then we had Meta World Peace. You know,
Detlef Schrempf.
Deadlift Shrimp might actually be
I
a
think he is.
role-playing Hall of Famer.
I think he's in the Hall of Fame.
Donald Foyle.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Wow, you're good.
You made me happy with that one.
Is Stan. I did it.
Look at you.
I seem to tickle
No,
you,
keep
I
doing
couldn't
it.
tickle Stan though. Look at Stan. Stan unimpressed by a Donald
No,
Foyle.
I'm not unimpressed.
Unimpressed.
Didn't you
You
coach
are.
a Donald Foyle?
I coached Donald Foyle. So
Lucky you.
I love Donald.
Fat Lever.
That's a good name.
Oh, yeah. Fat Lever.
That's
Good
a
one.
good name. It is.
That's a good one.
absolutely.
Speedy Claxton.
I don't think Speedy was actually his name,
The problem
was
with
it?
Speedy Claxton
What are you
is it was a
talking
great name. The guy never played. I mean, he was always hurt.
I think it was his nickname. Wasn't Speedy his nickname?
Yeah, but he went by Speedy.
I
No
thought
one
what
called
is
him
real
He
name?
did go
Nick.
by Speedy.
I don't think anyone called him Nick, if that even is his first
Did
name.
he go by Speedy, Stan? Did somebody? I don't know.
No
This guy-
one would have ever called me that. No.
Yeah, this guy never made it, but Scooney Penn.
You think Fat was his name? I mean,
I coached Scooney in summer league, and I remember him as a high school player in Massachusetts. Played for a good friend of mine, loved Scooney.
Look at me, Louie. Pick that name up off the
All
ground
right,
and hand it to
hold
me.
on a second.
Speedy's first name is Craig.
Thank you, Stugotz. I appreciate that. Let's go out into the other room here where Jeremy Taché, I don't know if you can see this, Stan. I hope that you can. Jeremy has a scenario where you see what's happening with Jimmy Butler. You see what's happening with Pat Riley. Pat Riley telling him if he's not playing, you need to shut your mouth. Let's go out.
This looks good.
Yeah, let's go out to Jeremy here, who's got the plan for the Miami Heat going forward. This is how they acquired Donovan Mitchell. Let's go ahead and show Stan how this works, Jeremy. Go ahead and take us through this.
This will be good.
Well, it's time to just set up a narrative, Dan, because we have some similarities happening here between the departure of LeBron James from Cleveland and Donovan Mitchell. We're talking about a player in year 7 of their career, year 7 playing in Cleveland. Well, what's going to happen at the end of that season? They go out sad at the hands of an overwhelming Boston Celtics team. For LeBron, it was the big 3. Now it's Tatum and company for Donovan Mitchell. That Celtics team, by the way, beating the Heat in the first round of the playoffs. But let's go back to the draft classes of each of these players. LeBron James with the Cavaliers. Who was his best friend in the league? Fellow draft classmate Dwayne Wade, drafted by the Miami Heat. Donovan Mitchell, best friend in the league? Bam Adebayo from the same draft class. So what happens? They become besties over their years in the league. This is happening 14 years apart. And what ultimately happens with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade? Well, you head to Miami, where they form a big 3 with Chris Bosh, who was already going to be there. And here, a future big 3 in Miami of Donovan Mitchell, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler.
Excellent detective work. Stan, your thoughts there on Jeremy doing that and also everything that happened with the Heat this week where Pat Riley tells Jimmy Butler, if you're not playing, you should keep your mouth shut.
Bison Dele.
Well,
Oh, wow.
first of all, on Jeremy's thing, that's all well and good, but LeBron James was a free agent. So that's sort of, and Donovan Mitchell is not.
He was
so that
traded.
sort of changes.
LeBron James was traded to the Miami Heat.
Depleted us of
He
draft
was,
assets
but
and
because he was a
trade
free
capital.
agent. So
Don't ruin it.
a sign
He
and
did
trade.
all these.
Sign
He
and
did
trade.
this whole thing, the string
he did
theory thing.
He did a great job there. The second thing I would say is let's not look, Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, really good players, but let's please not put them in the class of LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, please. I mean, let's stop right there. And what Pat Riley said is, what Pat Riley said. Like, that Jimmy shouldn't be talking if he's not playing, and they need him to play more games. I mean, both things seem rather obvious to me.
I loved what you said about this front office it has to stop putting Eric Spoelstra in this position where he has to be some sort of miracle worker every postseason. They need to help him out. They've failed countless summers now in acquiring not just a major piece, but pieces that can really help. And they're going to other teams in the Eastern Conference. They got to do something because what he's working with, no slight against him because it's been amazing, is not enough.
No, it's not enough. And if it weren't for him, I think there would be a whole different narrative surrounding the Miami Heat. But Eric's able to always get the most out of his team and get the most out of individual players. And so they end up very competitive at the end of the year. Now, this year, it got to the point with Butler being out in the playoffs where they didn't have enough to even be competitive as an 8 seed. But I think the bigger point which everyone that I've read has hit on, is if they had had guys more available in the regular season, they wouldn't have been an 8th seed. And then maybe they could be doing what New York is doing despite all the injuries and things, because they weren't in quite as tough a matchup. So, the regular season has got to become more important, not to Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley. I think it's always been important to them. It's got to become more important to the players. They've got to be more available, and they've got to put themselves in better position heading into the playoffs.
Thurl Bailey.
Oh, that's a good one.
They don't make Thurls anymore.
Pearl
They
Washington.
don't. Really?
What is Thurl even short for?
Tiago Splitter.
Is it short for anything?
Yuri Blob.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, Pooh Richardson.
There you go. That's a
Yuri
good
or
one.
Uwe?
It's
I mean,
Uwe
Uwe.
Blob.
Oh, it's Uwe.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not
Uwe.
Yuri Blob.
Pooh Richardson.
Nemanja Bjelica.
It's a W in the middle.
Stan, I am nervous about my New York Knicks. They are up 1-0 against Indiana, but it seems like because they're so limited off the bench, it seems like Jalen Brunson has to score between 40 and 50 every single night, and they're all playing, the 5 starters, 40-plus minutes every single night. I am nervous. Soothe me.
Well, they don't all play 40-plus minutes. Hartenstein only played 36 minutes the other night. For the New York Knicks, that's called load management, 36 minutes. Josh Hart, we were laughing on the broadcast. That's his 3rd playoff game the other night where he's played every minute. One of them was an overtime game where he played 53 minutes. So he played 48 minutes in game 1 against Indiana and did our between quarters interview, which is normally for someone that's out of the game. But in New York, if you're limiting yourself to interviewing players that are not going to be in the game, we'd be talking to Charlie Brown or something, So, yeah, these guys play a lot of minutes, but here's the thing. If you look at what they've done in the playoffs and people keep waiting for them to wear down, they've been at their best and even at their most energetic in fourth quarters. I mean, if you look at their 7 playoff games, they have 44 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. They have 51 in the other 3 quarters of those 7 games combined. So this team gets stronger as the game goes on. Obviously, highly conditioned, tough guys with a lot of resolve. And this team's going to be tough to beat. But Indiana's very good. I mean, it's not like New York blew them out, and I don't know that New York has enough to blow a lot of teams out. The games are going to be close. New York's been good in those situations. I think it'll be a good series.
Vitaly Potemko.
Oh, wow.
Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes said that Halliburton is not a number 1, that Siakam is not a number 1, that Indiana does not have a number 1.
I think that's fair. And I think they've done a very good job with that roster. But that's fair. I think that, and their line is, I heard it the other day, we're a true team, and they are trying to do it as a group. They're pretty balanced in the number of shots. Nobody uses their bench more than they do or gets more production out of it. They got 46 points out of that bench the other night. TJ McConnell had 18. Obi Toppin had 12. I mean, so they're playing 9 guys, and they're going to try to beat the Stars with 9 guys. But I would agree with Matt and Steven on that. There's not a number 1 guy, and Halliburton's not built that way. Like, he's the leading assist guy in the league, but he's not a guy who's going to try to take over a game. Now, he's got to do a lot more than he did the other night. You can't come in as a 20-point-per-game scorer and shoot 6 shots in a game where New York's not double-teaming you. They're not blitzing pick and rolls. You can't do what he did the other night. I give Dante DiVincenzo a lot of credit defensively, but Halliburton's going to have to get more aggressive.
Thabo Cephalosha.
Kelly Tripucka.
Oh, wow.
Those are Kiki Vandeweghe.
Oh, look at you. You see Hawkins?
You guys are good.
Stan, I got to make fun of you. I really do. Because I say that you're one of the greatest broadcasters doing it these days. And when I asked you that Pat Riley, Jimmy Butler question, your response was, what Pat Riley said is what Pat Riley said. That is analysis,
Awesome.
my friend. It's just
I got it.
He's
right.
It is, but for reasons that you guys would certainly know.
But I don't want to
I don't
let
want
you.
to get into I don't want to get into a lot of Miami Heat, Pat Riley stuff.
All right, so let's do Denver, Minnesota.
After
then.
I say Omer Ashik.
That's a good one. Let's do.
Remember his Adam's apple was massive.
yes.
Massive. He would get you 10 boards if you gave him the minutes.
His Adam's apple was a small forward. Can put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Was Omar Asik's Adam apple a small forward, an undersized small forward? Minnesota and Denver. Stan, is there anything more important in that series than Jamal Murray's hurt?
Well, yeah, I think there is. I think Anthony Edwards' emergence as a true star in this league and Minnesota's overwhelming defense, their overall size and activity. I give them a lot of credit. I give Tim Connolly a lot of credit putting that roster together. Not a lot of people believed in today's NBA in bringing two centers and trying to play them together. It has worked. I give Chris Finch a ton of credit for making a rather unconventional lineup work. They've just done a tremendous job. But I think that defense and then the emergence of Anthony Edwards as a true star, and then he's got a really good number 2 guy in Karl Anthony Towns. That is a very, very good team.
Andrew DeClerc.
Wow.
Who matches up best with Boston?
Well, it's going to be one of those two teams. Nobody in the East does.
Cherokee Parks.
Nobody in the East matches up with them. But in the West, those two teams can both match up. And would be interesting series. Those teams I thought were really good to begin with, but I didn't think anybody could dominate the Western Conference playoffs, even in the early rounds, the way those two teams have to this point.
Gar Hurd.
Let's play for Stan Van Gundy. Tex Winter. Let's play for Stan Van Gundy the sound of David Sampson saying what it is that he likes to have for breakfast. I think Stan's going to find this fairly shocking.
And I love the frosted cinnamon, the brown sugar Pop-Tarts. I love the strawberry Pop-Tarts. I love the low-fat Pop-Tarts. I don't toast them. I eat them raw, put them on top of dry cereal with peanuts and wasabi peas and some sort of spicy mix.
Wait a minute, what?
What? What is he talking about?
Exactly.
Like on the Pop-Tarts, not the brown sugar ones, the strawberry, very, very good. Don't toast them. I'm good with that. But then he's putting them on top of stuff. Wasabi? On top, like, what's going on?
Eduardo Nahara. Oh, Tony Massenberg.
Eduardo Nahara is a really good one, Mike. And the reason is, too, that I like that is a lot of the ones we're throwing in there, the first names are actually nicknames. I think we should eliminate the nicknames and go with real names. And Eduardo Nahara, as is Omer Ashik. We should stick to
Milt Palacio.
Oh, that's good. Palacio.
Milt Palacio.
But Fat Lever's real name is Lafayette Lever. I actually think that's a better name. It's an upgrade.
It is. I like that. I like
Mario Moon.
I like Peja Stojakovic.
Oh, that is too. That's a headlining name. You can't do that.
I think
Benoit
he's in the Hall
Benjamin.
of Fame.
Yeah, it's too good. Peja's too good.
Oh, okay.
Rasha
All right.
Nesterovic.
Oh,
Well,
there you go.
can't-
Now you're playing the game.
I hear it. I still hear it in
Nesterovic
Stephen A's
is good.
voice.
Now, you can't be in 2 Hall of Fames. Is that what you're saying? You can't be in the Hall of Fame, the Role Player Hall of Fame, and the Name Hall of Fame. You can only be in
For
one
the
of them.
game that we're playing, you can't be a star player.
Right.
You can't.
You just can't.
Okay. I got another Role Player Hall of Fame, Tony Kukoc.
Really?
Yeah, that's a good one.
He
Kukoc.
might
Also
be in the
playing
actual
that.
Hall of Fame, though.
Yeah, I think he's in the actual Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Too good.
Well, again, he wouldn't be in an NBA Hall of Fame, but because of what he did internationally, he gets in the Naismith Hall of Fame.
I think
Our Hall
a
of
better
Fame's
guy from those teams is Ron Harper, Stan. Role player.
No, not as good as Tony Kukoc.
Okay, sorry.
Eduardo, he's right, though. It's got a matador's flourish, a Hispanic, the first name. Like Nahara nails the dismount, but the Eduardo. You don't get a lot of you don't get a lot of Eduardos in basketball. Stan, it's nice seeing you. He is doing it better than anybody for TBS and TNT. Follow all playoff basketball through Stan Van Gundy. It is nice to see that smile under your mustache, Stan. Good seeing you.
All right, good seeing you guys.
Wanted to bring on the man who has ruined basketball, Stugotz.
Yep.
Kirk Goldsberry is better at analytics than just about anyone in the NBA media. He was a VP of research for the Spurs. He's the chief analytics consultant for USA Basketball. He's got a new book come out. It came out this week. It's called Hoop Atlas, Mapping the Remarkable Transformation of the Modern NBA. And as I mentioned, he is single-handedly responsible for ruining the NBA and drowning it in numbers and data and a whole bunch of stuff that a lot of people are interested in and a lot of people are not interested in. Stugotz chief among them. He is against learning.
Yep.
He is against new information, and the whole sport has changed. Kirk, thank you for joining us. We have a number of different questions. You write a lot about the corner three, so let's talk about one of Stugotz's favorite players, Al Horford. He's taken more than half of his shots from three in these playoffs. How much has the sport changed since Ray Allen shot in Game 6 11 years ago?
The game has changed a lot. Al Horford epitomizes those changes in a way, Dan. He's a perfect person to bring up. And in my book, Hoop Atlas, there's actually one of the more stunning graphs is Al Horford's three-point activity looks like a Bitcoin line graph, man. In a good when Bitcoin's doing well, I should say. You know, it looks like nothing for the first 10 years of his career. In fact, I think he made only like 10 threes in his first 5 or 6 years in the NBA, and now it's virtually what he does. And to me, that sort of epitomizes what's happened to his position group and what happened to the NBA. Al Horford deserves credit for extending his career like Brook Lopez by becoming great at shooting threes, especially corner threes.
We have a couple of charts here of LeBron's shot selection then and now, and this is how players age. He's the oldest player in the league. How has LeBron changed into more of a perimeter player as the three-pointer has come to dominate the league? Let's put these charts up there so that Kirk can explain this and, again, do more to ruin the NBA than anyone has.
Jesus, Dan. All right. So here's what happened. LeBron comes into a league in 2003. Michael has just left, and everybody still wants to be like Mike and shoot a ton of mid-range. LeBron is one of them. His first career bucket is in Sacramento in 2003, and it's a mid-ranger on the right side. That's like his favorite shot, and you can see that on that chart, that he loved that right side mid-range. Fast forward 20 years, and he is virtually a different player, and he deserves a lot of credit. Like Al Horford, extending his career. And one of the reasons he's been able to do that is because he has adopted this three-point shot. And if you would have told people in Miami that this guy would be shooting 40-some% on 6 or 7 attempts a game when he got to Miami, they would have told you he's crazy. But that's exactly what he's done, Dan. And like Al Horford epitomizes the trends that have sort of taken place during his career. And the other crazy stat about this, he is not a bystander. He leads the NBA in history in three-point assists and has assisted more corner threes than any other player in the game. So those of you who think this is just about Steph Curry and this three-point revolution, as a passer, LeBron has assisted more threes than Stephen Curry has ever made. So he's helped ruin basketball too.
As somebody, just an accomplice, though, you are you're
he
the
pores over your data.
You're the chief criminal. That's correct. You're the problem here, not LeBron James. You worked for the Spurs, so Wembanyama, give us your boldest, most extreme take on what it is you imagine he's going to become.
I think he's going to become the best player in the NBA. That's the boldest take I'll make, but it's going to be different. It's going to look different. He's going to be the best defensive player in the NBA. He might already be there. I'm not mad that Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year this week, but I think Wembanyama is going to hang his hat on that award for years to come. I think he'll just be so disruptive, blocking 5 shots a game on an average basis. But then on offense, nobody's going to be able to guard him. Once he gets a little bit stronger and starts to get a better feel for the game and the game slows down for him, he's going to be a problem on offense too. He'll score 40 points a night. Sometimes he'll grab 20 rebounds and he'll block 7 or 8 shots. It's going to be crazy, sort of like Olajuwon sort of stat lines for the modern NBA. And he has a potential to be the best player in the world and win multiple championships in his career for sure.
We were talking last week, and I was saying that Tom Brady is the standard for people not knowing anything about how to project who's going to be good in all of sports. But I couldn't come up with a close second place to what Jokic has done, where nobody thought he was going to be anything, and then he becomes something that is more dominant than anyone.
Jalen Brunson?
Nothing. Yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, but Jalen Brunson's not an MVP, and Jalen Brunson isn't a multiple-time MVP, and Jalen Brunson doesn't shoot with the efficiencies of Jokic, although he does, for his size, do more. But is Jalen Brunson second place to you when you think of people just totally swinging and missing on somebody who you think is a backup in the second round, and he's better than everybody?
Brunson's a great name. It's more topical than the one I'll throw out, which is Manu Ginobili. Is a big part of my book, but he was picked 57th in the NBA in the late 90s, didn't even make it to the league until 2003. And I think out of 140 some players, Dan, that have played at least 1,000 games, he has the highest winning percentage in NBA history. He has 4 championships, but to me sort of symbolizes how NBA scouts overlooked international players in the late 90s and early 2000s. But moving it up to today, Jokic is obviously the flagship one, and Brunson is a great other name. But some of these other Knick players are on that list too. I mean, scouting the NFL is very hard. We miss on quarterbacks in the NFL, no matter how you sort of build draft models. Predicting future success for quarterbacks is very difficult. Basketball, you can look at LeBron James or Victor Wembanyama or Anthony Edwards and be like, that dude's going to be very good in the NBA, and be pretty confident about that.
When Stugotz says Brunson, though, I could say, well, look at him. Just look at him. Physically, look at what he's doing. Okay, that's why they overlooked him, because he's small and
yes.
I get it.
But he's crafty, Dan. I mean, this is ridiculous. He's averaging 40 a game in the playoffs.
I'm well aware of how well he's doing, but look at him. I can say, okay, he's too small with those Giants. When I see Jokic moving through like a cement mixer and not bothered by everything, I really don't understand how everyone misses on that. Like how at that size, experts can't see. I just don't get it. I'm really mystified by it, because I don't have a comp for someone that size. Never mind playing that way, because there's not a comp for someone playing that way at that size. But everyone's swinging and missing on someone that size.
Yeah, it's remarkable, and I think, you know, he has now scored 210 points in his last 5 games, and you know, you got to sort of zoom out and be like, the last person to do that over a 5-game playoff stretch was Michael Jordan in 1993, and it's staggering what he's been able to do at his size, and it's a credit to him and his footwork. But you want to talk about people who missed on him? The whole Dallas Mavericks organization missed on him. It's just a few years ago they let him walk. Now he's certainly a max player. I'm not saying he's an MVP. We already talked about that. But, geez, he's scoring 40. He's scoring so much. If he scores 40 tonight, nobody will be surprised. And that is wild, given where he came from, his draft status, and even his time in Dallas. And that organization kind of wishes they had him still, I'm sure.
Do you have a theory? Because I haven't gotten a good answer yet on this, and I think you might be a good answer on this. I know that Jalen Brunson and Jimmy Butler are not Michael Jordan. I'm assuming that the reason that they are able to score more than Michael Jordan is because of the way that offense has changed. I'm not assuming that those two players are reincarnations of Jimmy Butler. Can you explain this? I'm sorry, of Michael Jordan. Can you explain it to me? Can you explain to me what's happening there, that the statistics I'm getting from these two guys shouldn't be where they are? Not these two.
Yeah, there are two things. It's the three-point era. So, you know, especially with Jalen, a lot of his offense comes from the three-point line. And if you just transported his three-point stats back to Jordan's era, he would stick out like a Larry Bird's dream. I mean, he is using the three-point shot at a normal level for superstars in 2024, but that is padding his stats. I'm not calling him a stat pattern, by the way. And then the second thing, Dan, is this heliocentric movement that has taken over the NBA in the 2020s, which is NBA offenses have never been this concentrated around the best players, perimeter players specifically, in the NBA's history. We're commonly seeing usage rates in the mid-30s for players like Brunson, who leads the playoffs in usage rate. For those out, that's a little bit nerdy. That's a fancy way of saying a ball hog. But NBA teams are happy to just rinse and repeat actions with their best players in ways that we haven't seen from guards in a long time. And that explains why we're seeing such wild box score numbers from players like Jalen Brunson.
Kirk, the comparisons of Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan, a bit premature, right? Ridiculous.
Don't compare anybody to Michael for a variety of reasons. But, Anthony Edwards is 22. And even when Michael was 22, he wasn't scoring like this and just dominating. So Anthony Edwards is his own player. He deserves to be treated as such. And in the business we're in, everybody wants to compare everybody to everything. We've already done it 3 times in this conversation. So I can see why it happens. Anthony Edwards is an absolute phenom. And I just can't believe he's 22, Stugotz.
Let's play for Kirk some sound from Austin Rivers that caught fire yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. Listen to this.
I could take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA.
Whoa. It's because you only allowed 5 on the court. Let's all relax.
It's because you get a break every play. All you got to do is catch the ball and run north or south.
Listen, our sport.
It ain't complex.
Your thoughts there, Kirk?
That's sports radio.
That is great sports radio. Stugotz got the producers here. I tend to agree with Austin Rivers, but I have a more of a respectful tone. I think the NBA has a lot of the best athletes in pro sports, and if they devoted their lives to it, they could thrive in the NFL for sure. And I think we have a few examples from history that can prove it.
Stanislav Medvedenko. Who do you have for MVP this year, brother? You have Jokic, SV, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or the other guy?
Please say the other guy.
Definitely the other guy. Regular season or playoffs. The way this Denver-Minnesota season is going, I reserve the right to make sure that everybody in the audience knows the NBA MVP award is a regular season award. And I feel like Nikola Jokic was the most valuable player this year. But Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson certainly look like the most valuable players of the postseason so far.
It wasn't too long ago that the NBA was reputed to be an innovator, not afraid to change the game in ways that would make the game a little bit more appealing. Does the NBA need to change the game some because you ruined it?
Yeah, it does, Michael. It's time to move the three-point line, especially the corner three, which is the most boring shot. It's the smartest shot in basketball, but you know what else? It's boring. Nobody wants to see PJ Tucker over there. Nobody wants to see Malik Beasley doing that. We want to see Anthony Edwards dunking, breaking guys down off the dribble. We want to see LeBron dunking. We want to see the best players making the best plays. And simply put, Michael, the corner three has become too easy for too many players. It's 1 in 10 shots in the NBA now. Nobody wants to see that number. And every time somebody shoots a corner three, it's something else that's not happening. So that shot shouldn't even exist. If you look at the basketball court, the corner three is 22 feet from the basket. Every other three-point angle is 24 feet or so, 23.75 to be precise. And it's time to get rid of the corner three, in my opinion, Michael, and open up the game to more athleticism. Try to breathe some life back into the mid-range where Michael Jordan and Dirk Nowitzki and Kobe Bryant all sort of made us swoon with that kind of game. That's absent now in large part because we're just hunting corner threes over and over again. So it is time. And every other league in the world, from the WNBA to women's college basketball to men's college basketball to FIBA, has moved their line back this century. The one that hasn't is the one with the best players. Tell me how that makes sense.
The book is available now, Hoop Atlas, Mapping the Remarkable Transformation of the Modern NBA. We thank you for your time, and we leave you with this video and photograph of the Jokic action figure. There it is, Stugotz. Are you enjoying the Jokic action figure? It is about time. He deserves his action figure. There he is, just laughing at everyone in the NBA for thinking he wasn't going to be any good, and then he's Wilt Chamberlain. Thank you, Kirk. We appreciate the time, sir.
Anytime, Dan. Thank you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.